Okay, so here's the Cosmic Eclipse, and I figured I'd show you the plant first, and then we'll take it inside and we will do a taste test on it. Now, unfortunately, the rain has absolutely devastated my tomato plants this year, and that includes this tomato plant. This thing was doing really good, and then once it started raining, my tomatoes started splitting, rotting, and falling off the plant, unfortunately. In fact, there's leaves still coming off of this thing. But look at all these dead leaves on here. You really want to get this stuff off of here because most of this is blight anyway. And you just want to get that stuff away from your plant in general. So it's a regular leaf, but this tomato variety is kind of different in a lot of ways. You can see how dark and purple the leaves are. Now you'll see this very commonly. That's not because this plant is nutrient deficient or anything like that. That's not what it is. This plant, you can see the stem, okay, all the way up the stem. The whole plant is very purple. It's a very purplish type of plant. Now, I believe this was bred by John Wagner or Tom Wagner. I can't remember his name. He's a tomato breeder, and I believe this is one of his creations. I'm absolutely fascinated with this particular variety. He has created several varieties that I want to try, and this is the one that I know for sure he created. But you can see that the tomatoes, it really looks like a galaxy. Now these really got purple on top. They normally don't get as purple. If you don't leave them directly in the sun, you won't get that purpling, but it'll be more like a striped, speckled type of tomato. It's a very bizarre looking tomato. So like I said, the unfortunate thing is I lost a lot of tomatoes this year due to the intense amount of rain. I think we're up to 20 inches of rain, 21 inches of rain already. It's just incredible amount of rain in the last 4 weeks, and it's just really taking a toll on my tomato plants. In fact, it killed a few of them already. But this one's hanging in there. I'm going to strip off whatever large tomatoes look like they can, once they start getting a little pink in them like this, I'll take them off. But now this is a Solanum lycopersicum, I believe. But I don't know what it's crossed with to have gotten this variety. But it's a very beautiful tomato. In fact, I'll take one off now. See, when you go to take your tomatoes off too, by the way, when you grab them, there's a knuckle here. If you look really close, you see this little knuckle joint? You grab it on the top of that knuckle and just pull back like this. And they come right off. Most of the time. Sometimes they don't. But here it is. Isn't that a beautiful pattern on that tomato? It's got purple and blue. It's like the sky almost, and then the bottom gets striped like that. You'll see a lot of times with this particular variety of tomato. This tomato is very hard too. When they're not ripe, they're very hard like an apple. But this particular variety of tomato tends to get a lot of spots on it, like orange spots and green spots. It's like a painter's palette, so to speak. It's just all kinds of stuff is going on with this tomato. It's a beautiful variety. I'm really fascinated by it. Also, too, this is one of those tomato varieties that have that really strange fruity smell to the leaf. You'd have to grow this tomato in order to understand what I'm talking about. It smells very fruity, like Fruit Loops. That's what it smells like. You ever smell a cereal, Fruit Loop cereal? It smells just like Fruit Loop cereal. That's what it reminds me of. So, all right, so let's take a walk over to the bench and we will do a taste test. Okay, so here's the taste test part of the review for the Cosmic Eclipse. Now, this is, I believe, a Tom Wagner or Wagger creation. He's a tomato breeder and he's got quite a few creations out there, and this is like one of the only ones that I'm growing by him, but he has a number of other ones I'm going to be trying in the future. But this is a fantastic tomato, and I really like the look of it a lot. This is an indeterminate tomato. It's a Solanum lycopersicum. So let me show you what it looks like a little better on camera. close. That's what it looks like on the inside. And this is what it looks like on the outside. You can see all the striping and spotting and green and purple and blue. It's a really fantastic looking tomato. Alright, and here's one that's green. Now, just so you know, the shoulders really got purple on this tomato this year. Normally they don't get that purple, but I guess because of the extreme sun that we got earlier in the year, the shoulders really got purple. So I guess the more it's exposed to the sun, the more purple it's going to get. It's kind of one of those tomatoes. So they really got purple this year. But if they don't purple as much, the whole thing looks like a planet, basically. It looks like a planet with little stars on it and little spots. It's really, really cool looking. But because the shoulders are so purple, you can't really see all of that. And on the bottom, it kind of looks like a vintage wine tomato. And it's got a lot of that characteristics, but it's got characteristics of other tomatoes in it. So it's a very interesting tomato. Now, last year I did a review on it, and I wasn't particularly, I don't know, crazy about the taste of it. So we'll see if the taste changed this year at all. Hopefully, because of all the rain and all the other stuff that's been going on, it's got blight now, and it's really been a really bad year for tomatoes, and it basically wiped out most of my tomatoes, and I don't know if that's going to affect the flavor or not. It very well could, guys. Believe it or not, when you get a lot of rain and it washes out your soil constantly, your tomatoes tend not to taste at their optimal for most tomatoes. So, and then you get strong heat, high humidity, that causes, again, tomatoes to kind of get a weird kind of a flavor. The other things that cause tomatoes to get a kind of an awkward flavor is the pH. If the pH is too low, tomatoes are going to tend to taste sour and bitter. So these things can all be factors due to how much you water it, rain, how much heat and humidity. All these things affect, ultimately in the end, affect your taste of your tomatoes. So just keep that in mind. Now, so anyway, let's give it a bite and see what it tastes like. Let me cut this one in half. This one's got a little spot on the bottom. Well, right out the gate, it's not terribly sweet, but it's a little bit on the tangy side. I'm going to say the sweetness is probably pretty low on this. I'll probably say about between 4 and 5. But we're going to check. We're going to check on our Brix meter right here. It's about a 6.5 on the Brix. So it's not terribly high, but you can definitely taste the contrast in the sweetness. Like I said, sweetness wise, it's probably going to be like, I don't know, maybe 30%, 32% on the sweetness, and the tangy's actually a lot higher. The tangy's like 35, 36 on the tangy. So there's a little bit, you got that awkward contrast, but I'm not particularly fascinated about the tangy flavor with this tomato. Now, it doesn't taste bad, it's just, I like tangy. See, tangy, when I say tangy, that's usually the part of the tomato that is tangy in your mouth, and it makes your mouth kind of, but tangy can have its own range within itself. Tangy's got a point where it gets sour, and then tangy's got a point where it's just tangy in flavor, and it kind of makes your mouth salivate. But then there's tangy can go at the other end of the scale and make your mouth pucker. So I don't want to make these reviews too complicated, but I don't get into the tangy part and break that down. But yeah, the tangy part can be kind of mouth puckering at times. If you were to put that in a scale from, 1 to 100, 1 meaning that it's, on the tangy part where it tastes tangy, 50 would be perfect, and then 100 would be that mouth puckering side. So you're going from like, you know, a tangy tart flavor to a mouth puckering sour side. This is getting up on the sour side of things, basically, is what I'm trying to say. The skins are kind of strong, but they're not extremely tough where they stick to the roof of your mouth, so they chewed up very nicely. I noticed that around the skin area, a lot of that aftertaste in the tang or mouth puckering type of tang is coming from the skin. The center part of the tomato with the seeds isn't bad at all. It's kind of a little bit on the watery side, so it's gonna be a moist tomato. And what else about it? And the seeds were slightly tangy, which is good. Now, if you look at the rind, you can kind of see the wilding in the rind. So it's a very nice tomato. I don't know. I don't think this is considered an heirloom per se, but it is definitely a creation that been around for, I believe, close to 10 years. So it's been around a little bit for a min, as they say. So it's been around a little bit, but I wouldn't say it was around terribly long. So I don't know. This is my 2018 review for the Cosmic Eclipse. We'll grow it again next year, and we'll try again. Hopefully, see, if I had more room in the greenhouse, I would definitely grow all my tomatoes in the greenhouse, and that would control, you know, 80–90% of the problems I'm having with the weather. But the other problem is the diseases. Now the diseases are getting in the greenhouse too, so I don't know what to do. I may have to not grow tomatoes for 3 or 4 years and then come back to it, and I don't know what else to do. The diseases are just absolutely rampant out here. So other than that, we'll give it a go next year. It'll be my last time I'm going to review this tomato. I've got a lot of other tomato varieties to review. I may not even come back to this tomato review-wise. I'll grow it again, but I may not come back to it. Or I'll do like a 2-minute taste test and see if it went up or not. I'll have to figure something out. But doing a full review on it, I'm not going to do that. But as far as I can tell you, with the tomato, it's definitely worth growing. I like the ornamental aspect of it. So give it a go. I'll offer seeds on my website. And that's it. That's your tomato review for the Cosmic Eclipse. Like, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you on the next one.